Welcome to the Swing Smarter Hitting Training Podcast. Hey coaches, players, and parents. I'm your host, Joey Myers, and today you're in for an absolute treat. Joining me is none other than Jeff Frye, former Major League Baseball player, renowned hitting analyst, and the charismatic voice behind the She Gone movement that's shaking up hitting conversations across social media. Jeff spent nearly a decade in the MLB showcasing exceptional skill as a contact hitter and setting the standard with his versatile play. Since stepping off the field, he's turned his sharp eye toward analyzing hitting philosophies, boldly challenging modern trends, and advocating for traditional approaches that stand the test of time. In this action-packed episode, Jeff and I dive deep into some heated hitting topics. Why do so many former big leaguers contradict today's popular hitting gurus? The critical difference between real versus feel in swing mechanics, what coaches and players get wrong and how to get it right, effective strategies for mastering barrel path and staying competitive against elite pitching, straight from Jeff's own playbook and experiences facing legends like Greg Maddux. Coaches and players, if you're looking to gain powerful insights to instantly elevate your hitting game or your coaching strategy, Jeff Frye delivers candid truths and expert advice you simply won't find elsewhere. Get ready to challenge your assumptions and unlock hitting secrets that produce results on the field, not just likes on social media. Buckle up. This conversation is about to make your hitting approach smarter, simpler, and way more successful. Let's dive in. Coach Jeff.
Hey man, what's up?
How's it going, man? I've been following you every day. I mean, you got, I don't know, how many times do you post a day? Would you say on Twitter?
I don't know, too fucking many.
No, I love it. It's entertaining. I get on and I mean, you talk about so many different things, and this is kind of off the record, but so many different things. And we know you talk about somebody in particular, and we don't have to mention that name, but everybody knows who that is because
right.
He knows you're enemy number one for you. But I've been watching you and following you, and kind of took a little hiatus this last year, focus on some other things. And so I want to get back into it again. I was doing this quite a bit. I mentioned I had interviewed Maddux and Aaron Miles and some of these guys that played big league ball and stuff like that. And so I was like, you know what? Like, I talked to my dads, I still do lessons and stuff. And my dads are like, why don't you keep doing your podcast? Why don't you keep doing your podcast? I was like, you know what? That might be a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I excuse me. I've kind of took a break from my podcast for a while. I moved to Maryland, and my girlfriend got sick, and so I took a break, but then I started doing it back, and it's really kind of taken off. And I don't make one penny from doing it, but I like being able to get former players on there that echo the same things that we talk about. And that, why are all the former players saying this is the way, which is the opposite of all the social media gurus, but somehow we're all wrong.
It's a consistent drumbeat too. It's a consistent drumbeat along former big league players and big league players. Consistent. I mean, it has been over the years. Listen to Bonds, listen to A-Rod, listen to Pujols. All of them say the same thing. And to be honest, 8 years ago, I was attacking the same Barry Bonds and things and Mike Trout, because what we were seeing, and I can include myself in with those hitting gurus, because I didn't play Major League ball. I played college ball in Fresno State, but I was going, well, look at Mike Trout. He's saying he gets on top of the ball. He works on getting on top of the ball during batting practice. And you look at his swing, and it doesn't look like that, But I think people are getting lost in translation, the real and the feel thing.
That's the problem. That is the problem. Because people, sorry to interrupt you, but
no, go ahead.
That's what they always go to that. Somebody just went to that a minute ago. I showed a buddy of mine, using an axe on a tree. He's like,
is that JJ Munoz? JJ
yeah,
Munoz?
yeah. They said, George Brett told me to extend his arms. He always extend full extension, but he never did that. And what about feel versus real? So they like to look at video of what we did. Right. And say, yeah, you thought you were doing this, but this is what you actually did. So we're going to teach everybody to do what you actually did. And then, part of it is the mindset, the idea that I need to get on top of this ball because the weight of the bat when you swing is naturally going to flatten out. So just think, if you're trying to flatten it out, how much lower it's going to go than where you want it. So this idea of swinging down, sure, we didn't swing down like this the way they all demonstrate. They're like, oh, you don't swing down. No, you swing down to get your hands and the barrel in the hitting zone, and then you try and stay in the hitting zone. And they'll say that the uppercut swing, the long swing that they teach, stays in the hitting zone longer. And it's just like, come on, this just defies logic.
Right. Well, and this is where I started going down some of the rabbit holes on the science. Like you look at centripetal force. I don't want to get too much in the weeds. Centrifugal force. So there's those forces acting. You have gravitational forces. You have all kinds of forces acting on the barrel. And our hitters do a lot of overload training. They swing heavy bats, and I love in-loaded, but any heavy bat's fine, camwood, whatever. But I love the in-loaded heavy bats, and I got that from Perry Husband. I don't know if you've done a lot of research on him.
I know who that is. I don't know that I actually know him personally, but I know the name. I've heard the name. And
Effective Velocity. So one other company, I don't want to mention them, they've pretty much stolen a lot of his stuff, his research over 30 years. He's a great guy. Effective Velocity, I think he's like at Effective Velocity or something like that. Perry Effective EV Perry Husband or something like that. But he's what's his name on MLB Central. He's on there a lot talking about effective velocity and sabermetrics. Former big league player, his name will come to me. Lefty, played on the Rays, had some pretty good years back in the early 2000s.
Al Leiter?
No, lefty hitter.
Oh, Carlos Pena?
Yes, Carlos Pena. So Carlos Pena worked with Perry, and Carlos loves it. I mean, you talk to Carlos, and he's like effective velocity, But like Perry, I learned the heavy bat stuff from him. And so when you can get kids controlling on a high tee, controlling a heavy bat, and we're swinging down. I mean, that's what I'm telling. That's the cue we're telling is swing down, right? And when they can do that, it's amazing what they can do when pitches are down or wherever in the zone.
Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah,
and some of my swings, a lot of my home runs were balls that were down and in, almost like a lefty. You don't pitch lefties down and in. And the few home runs that I hit, a lot of times were just me dropping the head of the bat and kind of almost like golfing a ball down and in over the fence. And because of that, it created that arc or whatever, I elevated the ball. I didn't mean to, I never practiced on hitting that. That was just a reaction. And I think so much of what's being taught out there in the hitting world is, we're overcomplicating this stuff and we're just thinking too much, man. When I stepped in the box, when I had a clear mind and I was confident, I didn't think about anything. I didn't think about my mechanics, where my hands were, if I need to get my foot down. It's just like simple stuff that because of repetition just becomes, the way you do it. It's natural and not thinking. Clear your mind, get in the box and see the baseball. And that's really the thing is, if you don't see the baseball, which I don't know how you can see the baseball when you're all torqued up like a pretzel over here. You can't even turn your head and, you got to snap everything and explode your whole body. How long can your body withstand that type of torque anyway?
Right. And I think one of the big things that Perry says that he uses a metaphor, and it's like you have the speedboat coming across the water, the lake, right? And then if you shoot a torpedo, so the speedboat represents the baseball, the torpedo represents the barrel path, right? So if you shoot a torpedo from the bottom of the lake to try and hit that speedboat, your timing has to be perfect. Yep. And if you're too early, you're going to miss it. If you're too late, you're going to miss it, right? And so that's where you go back to this one swing fits all thing doesn't work for all pitches, because you got a 95 in the big league. If we're talking big leagues, 95 plus mile an hour fastball up in the zone coming down at around 2 degrees or 3 degrees. I mean, that's almost literally straight like a speedboat coming in. And so the big thing is to shoot. Why can't we shoot the torpedo from the top of the water, like right at it? Because it doesn't matter whether you're going to be early or late with your barrel launch, you're right on target. So you're going to hit the target a lot better, So it's like matching the plane of the pitch, whatever the plane of the pitch is, with the barrel coming in. And you can't do that with the barrel that's coming up at 15 degrees and a ball that's coming down at 3 degrees.
Right. And that's really what you're doing when you swing down, because like I said before, you don't swing straight down and through and across. You swing down and to get your barrel as quickly and efficiently in the hitting zone. Okay, and not I argue with these guys about this whole, you know, what they call it, barrel depth. Like, what is barrel depth? Why do I want to swing back here? This is a waste of time. This takes longer. If I start my bat here, it takes longer to get to where I want it. I want to go from here to there and then stay through as long as I can. And I mean, it's almost universal. Almost every player that played the game, at least in my era, says the same thing. And none of us understood what we were doing. Is that what they're trying to tell us?
Right. Well, I think it's, and when you say, clear your mind, when you said this a little bit earlier, clear your mind, keep it simple. And I think those are great, especially at the higher levels, even high school, college on up, professional ball. The problem with the youth is that it's all about fear of missing out, travel ball games where they're playing travel ball games like nonstop. There's a tournament every single weekend. They got 52 chances to win a ring, right? 52 weeks. And the problem is that they're not developing. And when those players that haven't put in the repetitions like you have and many other former big leaguers and big leaguers haven't put in the repetitions, they can't put it on autopilot. And so they start thinking about all this stuff and it makes it even worse. It's like a big old fat snowball that gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so my thing, like my own son, my 12-year-old, he's one of the pictures back here is a little younger in these pictures, but he's 12 now. And I have for a reason not put him into travel ball. It's not that I don't like it. It's just that I wanted him to grow a love for the game that I had, and I know you had, and I know many you listen to any former big leaguer, current and future, they're all going to say, I mean, they love the game because there's no reason why they would put in the work that they do if they didn't love the game, And I think growing that love for the game early on and getting out of this whole trap of fear of missing out. I got to play more games. Why don't you listen to people like Coach Jeff and others that are giving this knowledge and use that to get a little bit better? Is that your kind of take?
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not a big fan of the select ball, just because it's too much. These kids are playing too much in my mind, and they're not playing other sports. But I blame a lot of that on the parents because it's like, they think their kid's going to miss out. Their kid's going to fall behind. And I tell people all the time, I was like, if your kid is talented enough and has the drive to work at it, he has a chance. But you forcing him to do it, it's just going to make him not want to do it. It's going to turn it into a job, and it's not fun. Let him do it on his own. You'll find out. And so few people make it to the big leagues. It doesn't make sense that everybody's trying to turn the little 12-year-old into a big leaguer. Just let them be kids, man. Nobody forced you to play. You played if you played. It's because you wanted to play and because you loved it. Nobody ever forced me, oh, you have to go do this. You have to. No, I wanted to go do that because I wanted to compete and I wanted to get better.
There was a kid, so we were playing in our school ball game because we're playing school ball and then we have our rec. It's very competitive rec. It's probably one of the best competitive recs in the Central Valley in California. And there was a kid, little chatty kid, he was a good little kid, talking trash to one of our other players who were their buddies. They played together on their travel team. And this poor kid, he pitched, did all right. You could tell he's a good little ball player. But when they took him out, because we were hitting him around a little bit, he's playing at first base. And I coach first base, so the sixth grade coach is the head coach, for the school ball. So I'm over at first base. He's playing first base and he starts chatting it up with me. And I asked him, I said, hey, I hear you're playing with so-and-so on this travel ball team. Yeah. Well, I'm not playing on that one anymore. I'm playing another one. Oh, you play with so-and-so. Oh yeah, playing so. So you're going into seventh grade next year, right? Yeah. You're going to play, are you going to switch travel ball teams for the 7th and 8th grade year? Because it's kind of a gap, between they get to the high school. And he says, I don't know. He said, I might take some time off in the summer. And I go, why not? Why not take time off? He goes, well, I just don't want to fall behind. That's what he said. Broke my heart. I said, hey, kid, you're not going to fall behind. You're actually going to come back probably stronger because his arm was killing him. That's what he was saying. He said, my arm's just killing me. He just got back from an Arizona tournament the weekend before. And I told him, I said, dude, work on you, recover, get better, develop. You're not going to fall behind. If anything, you're probably going to leapfrog because a lot of these players are stuck in this mainstream travel ball, play every weekend. They're not even thinking about developing. They're just thinking that playing more games is going to make them better. And I believe that that helps up to a point. But then they reach a plateau and they don't go beyond that because they don't learn the skills that a lot of you guys share, former big leaguers and big leaguers share about the mental side of things.
Mm-hmm. And plus, they don't practice enough.
Yeah.
You can't work on all the stuff you need to learn just playing games all the time.
Right.
And back to that little boy, that makes me sad because the only reason he thinks he's going to fall behind is because somebody told him that. Some adult told him that. Mm-hmm. You sure you don't want to play? I can almost picture it. You sure you don't want to play? You might fall behind. Mm-hmm. So now in his mind, he thinks he might fall behind when he just wants to be a kid. Why should a 10-year-old, 12-year-old kid's arm be hurting? Only because he's playing too much,
Right. Well, who is it I just saw on MLB Network? We have these great, and this is why I love the experience with my son. And the dads that come in with their sons, hey, Johnny doesn't listen to me, so I'm hoping he's going to listen to you. Or I'll say something and dad will say, I've said the same thing to him. He doesn't listen to me, And I'm just blessed to have such a great relationship with my 12-year-old, at least right now. We'll see what happens when he goes into the testosterone teenage years, But we watch MLB Network a lot, and we'll watch games, and we'll go and start breaking down how a pitcher's sequencing a hitter, or what a hitter's hunting, or what they're looking for. And it's such. I never dreamed that it could be this cool to sit with your 12-year-old and go over this kind of stuff. And he's just like wide-eyed, looking at it. And So we were watching MLB Network, and one of the teams, I can't remember who it was, maybe I want to say during spring training they have like 6 or 7 guys Tommy John, like they're out injuries. White Tommy Sox. John, one team.
White Sox.
What is going on?
Chasing velocity and spin rate, man. And actually, one of my old teammates, who actually works for a team, I won't say his name, I want to get him in trouble, but he told me about, I think it was last week, he said, he calls me Fry Daddy. He said, Fry Daddy, he goes, man, these guys got it so easy. It's like a country club. He goes, they don't run. He goes, they never run. Pitchers used to be the deal, man. You throw, you go run.
Yeah.
And some guys were obsessed with it, but everybody has to run to get the blood flowing and all that kind of stuff. And he says they don't do that anymore. And everybody's, I think the bullpens, what used to just be, hey, go throw a bullpen between starts or whatever. You got your bullpen catcher and you got your pitching coach, and that was it. Mm-hmm. Now they got 7 dudes down there with iPads tracking every pitch. So you're not going through a 60, 70% just to keep your arm fresh or whatever and work on little mechanical things. Now it's like every pitch is see how much we can spin it, see how hard we can throw it. And I just think these guys' arms are wearing out, man, because they're not getting a break, and they don't do the stuff that the old school pitching coaches always knew about. Take a day off, and we'll have a flat ground work, and then we'll do a bullpen, and then another day off, and you'll start.
Yeah, that's interesting.
We didn't have a million Tommy John. It was rare to hear that one of your pitchers was going to miss the season from Tommy John in spring training. They just had 5 months off. Why are they hurt now? Because they're all at training at velocity training centers and drive lines and stuff like that, tread in the off season, trying to throw harder or spin the ball or create new pitches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have 7 pitches and 6 pitches and things like that. And I mean, it's to watch the Greg Maddux documentary. I haven't been able to sit down and watch the whole thing all the way through, but I've seen bits and pieces that have been floating around X. Amazing. I mean, the guy, I don't know. Did you face him, Greg Maddux?
Yeah. I faced him 4 times.
So take me through that before I get into kind of what that is. How'd that go?
I was 1 for 2 with 2 walks.
Okay.
He didn't walk anybody.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about when I faced him was, and I did this a lot. I would watch pitchers warm up, okay, and see how they grip the ball, different things, see if they hold the ball behind their back, whatever, when they're getting the signs, just see if I could see the grip on the baseball so I could maybe have an advantage of what's coming. Mm-hmm. And so Maddux, I saw him. I knew what he threw, pretty much already, his 3 or 4 pitches that he threw. But I saw him warming up between innings, and he got this grip, like cutter grip. I saw him grip it, and then he put his hand in his glove, and then he motioned to the catcher, cutter, or like this, And he did that a couple times. I was like, all right. I wasn't really thinking about it. And then I get in the box, and I think it was like 1-0 count or something like that. And I saw him get that grip. I was like, he's throwing me a cutter right here.
And he wasn't messing with you.
No, he wasn't. And I mean, I don't know how many other guys look for that stuff, but I look for that stuff. And sure enough, man, he throws me a ball that is probably middle part of the plate and cuts away on the outside corner. And I just hit a friggin' linear to right field. I was looking for it, and I hardly ever looked for pitches besides a fastball. But I was like, he's throwing me a cutter. And the thing about Maddux, man, is the ball was like, you can't believe how much the ball moved. It was almost like a wiffle ball, where you just didn't see very many pitchers. I mean, guys had movement, of course, but not like this, not like a two-seamer that would run this far, or it was just kind of a different thing. And you could see why he was so successful, having that type of movement and that type of command at the same time.
What do you think that was? Because today you mentioned spin rate, and they're talking about, hey, you got to increase that spin rate because that's how you're going to get that big break. But I don't think he could break a pane of glass. I mean, he threw low 90s, which is pretty good. But, in college at D1 level, low 90s is BP fastball, right? And I know probably for you guys for sure. So what do you think that was? What made that happen? He just was good?
Man, he was just a master, and a lot of it's just his intelligence, and that, he knew that he probably got hit harder when he was throwing low 90s than when he was throwing 88 to 86, because he knew what was more important was location. And that if he could paint that outside corner and then come in and I heard he used to like make an X. I don't know really the whole story, but it's kind of like he never wanted to throw 2 pitches consecutively in the same place, which that seems pretty logical, right? And so you could throw 2 pitches the same velocity, but one's inside, one's outside, and it's a totally different look. So he was just, I mean, and I think he also did the opposite of what a lot of guys do, is he subtracted more than he added. So if somebody hit him, he didn't try and throw it harder next time. It was easier. Opposite. Everybody else is like, oh, this sucker got a base hit, I'm gonna throw harder this time, and then they're gonna hit it harder the next time. I mean, that's what they don't understand about guys, and not just major league guys, but guys that play at a high level, big time D1, guys in the minor leagues. Man, we can hit a fastball, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, throw it 105. You're still going to get hit.
Please throw it harder, because I'm going to hit it harder. And the harder you throw, the less effort I have to use, and just relax and make contact, and you're going to provide the power.
You mentioned the X in the strike zone, and I go back to Perry Husband on that, and that's effective velocity basically. So the one leg of the X, and this was something I'm sure Greg was way ahead of the curve on this, because Perry's been talking about this for decades. I mean, he's done 30 years of research on this, and like I said, one company in particular has ripped them off and claims it's their idea, and it's not. And so the idea, which you just said, was that an up and in fastball is same pitch, say 90 miles an hour, same pitch, looks +6 to the hitter because it's closer to the eyes. And then that same 90 located down and away, so on that leg of the X, looks -6. So it looks 84 miles an hour. So the difference between that perception to the hitter is like 12 miles an hour. And Perry says that within 6 miles an hour is where all hard contact happens. So he said the problem with today's game is that pitchers tend to take their hard stuff and they locate it away. So if you guys got a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, he locates it down and away. To the hitter, it looks 94. Now that's a lot better to hit, and you got more time, and you don't have to turn as much on that pitch to be able to go oppo with it, right? You don't have to do as much work. You just relax and just kind of let it go, hit it the opposite field. So that's kind of interesting with Maddux, and something that I think since I've met Perry, it's been a lot more open. But there weren't a lot of pitchers, and you could probably speak to this because you played around then, a lot of pitchers that did that kind of stuff.
No, nobody could do it like he could, for
Uh,
sure. Another thing with what you're talking about is the fastball away. Okay, so if I'm hitting a fastball away, you say 100-mile-an-hour fastball is 94 perception to me. Well, that 100-mile-an-hour fastball from here is probably 95 by the time it gets to home plate, 94 as it loses velocity. So now, now it looks like it's 88, right? And all I have to do to hit a pitch away is get my barrel to this part. Okay. But if I'm going to hit a fastball, if I'm going to pull a ball, which normally on a pitch up and in, you're going to have to pull. I got to get my bat head way out here. You know, otherwise I can't hit this pitch up and in here. I got to get the head out. You know, so that takes even longer.
Yeah.
To do that.
Well, and timing too. So one of the biggest examples that I talk with my hitters with Judge from the regular season where, you know, everybody had a great season, hit 320, 60 homers, 100 something RBI, something like that with the Yankees. And then he gets into the playoffs, and we were watching, my son and I were watching games just like that. We're watching Yankee games and A's game. He likes the Dodgers because of Ohtani and, you know, Betts and everybody. And we'll watch a Yankees game and during the season. And I'm like, if you could public available heat maps on Google, you can look them up, look up Aaron Judge heat map, right? And you'll see dead red. I mean, it's completely hot, red hot down in the zone, more towards the down and away, right? And you'll see it go away too. So it's red hot out here, but he's ice cold up in the zone, especially up and in, and then a little bit inside, ice cold. So we've had these conversations, my son and I, is like, why aren't pitchers, major league pitchers are not stupid. Like we have a couple of them, former big leaguers in our neck of the woods that we talk to, friends with and things, and freaking wicked smart, these guys. Like they're not doughheads. I know there are some, you know, on the spectrum, pitcher wise, but how is he allowed with that one swing? It's a one swing. And I love Judge, by the way, he's a Fresno State guy. I love Judge. It's not Judge. It's more of the one swing barrel path, that upswing barrel path. How is he allowed to hit 320 where you got a guy like Bobby Witt Jr., one of our favorite guys right now in the league, right? And Witt can cover the top half, he can cover the bottom half, the outside, the end, he can cover it all, right? How is Judge allowed to hit 320, 60 homers, 100? But then we look at the playoffs. We're watching these playoff games and the World Series, and we are seeing hard fastballs up and in, cold zone. And then we're seeing a lot of these sweepers and sliders down and away. And he is just whiffing. And I felt so bad for the guy. I think it was the second game of the World Series. And he's dealing with these Dodger guys. These Dodger guys are just tearing him apart. Felt so bad. It gets an up fastball, puts a D swing on it, a D swing, not even a B swing, puts a D swing on it. And then he gets like 4 sweepers down and away. Swing and miss, swing and miss, swing and miss. And then the minute he gets an actual fastball on the outer corner of the plate, that's his wheelhouse. He takes it, and I could see him go, like he missed it, you know. And I felt so bad for the guy because he didn't have, in that moment, he didn't have like another plan. It was just that one plan, and you know, unfortunately for him, he got exposed. Like, so why not the regular season? Why only in the playoffs and the World Series? I mean, I think he led. I can't remember the stat I saw. I don't know if it was historical or on the year or what it was. I don't know if it was playoffs and World Series, but he led in strikeouts in playoffs and World Series, like 35 strikeouts.
Yeah, and I love Aaron Judge too.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, and what for his swing coach that I think brings him negative attention.
Right.
But what I see with Judge, he's got long arms, he's got big long levers, you know, so obviously common sense says pitch this guy inside. You know, don't let him. And then I watched during the regular season. It's like every time somebody says, "Oh no, Judge hit a home run," Little Richie's going to post a video, and you look at his pitches, and these pitches are like center cut, 85-mile-an-hour sliders that anybody could hit over the fence. I'm like, sure, you throw that to me, I might hit a single, but how can you throw these pitches to this guy?
Right.
And I'm just watching, and I think honestly. I think these pitchers, I know they're not dumb. Some of them are probably not the sharpest knives in the drawer.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think honestly, they've been told that if you throw this pitch with this spin rate, it's a good pitch.
Mm,
If the guy hits it, he hits it. But you know what? You threw it 2,800 RPM.
no matter where you throw it in the zone.
And he just happened to hit it. But that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that high spin rate, and that's a good pitch because it has this much movement. And I don't know, there was another guy I argued with on Twitter about, and when you talked earlier about a pitch, that's coming down at 2 degrees, and they're like, oh, well, this curveball dropped 6 feet. I was like, 6 feet? How can you say that? Just because a 6'6" pitcher lets go of it here and the guy catches, doesn't mean it's dropping 6 feet. Okay. Or a fastball. The fastball, they said, drops 34 inches. It's like, it's not dropping. A 95-mile-an-hour pitch doesn't drop.
Right.
It goes down at an angle, but it's not dropping.
Right.
Just because something goes from here to here doesn't mean it dropped 4 feet. It's going on a direct line to that spot. Doesn't mean it's dropping. And I think that's the biggest thing when they do all their measurements and they talk about these pitches. Oh, this pitch had 2 feet of vertical movement and 18 inches of lateral. It's like if it was really moving that much, nobody could hit it.
Right.
Right? Who could hit it?
We're playing blitz ball. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a wiffle ball. It's a wiffle ball. Yeah, you could throw a wiffle ball that breaks 6 feet, but you throw, I don't know, was it 5.25 ounce baseball is not going to drop like that at 60 feet. Sorry.
Well, and the other thing is that what I talk about my hitter with the Aaron Judge example in the playoffs is that I tell him, I say, if you had one swing, if you had his one swing and you couldn't change your swing path, because we have 2 swing paths. We do a swing down, we do a swing up. So we tell them if it's up, we swing down. If it's down, we swing up. If it's far away from your eyes, which is away, we swing up. In, close to your eyes, just like up, we swing down. So we hunt. We do a lot of hunting. I learned this from Perry husband. But we do a lot of hunting. And so I told them, I said, you couldn't change your swing path, but you're getting fed fastballs up and in, which isn't tailored for your swing, or you're getting fed 3 or 4 sweepers down and away and in at bat. What pitch would you want to be more on time with? And they would say, well, the sweeper, obviously, And so like my thing to you is, if you got a guy if I told you that I was going to throw you up in the zone, you would hammer it. If I told you he's going to throw it down in the zone, you'd hammer it. It didn't matter whether I'm throwing a good splitty, if I'm throwing a cutter, just wherever the destination of the pitch lands, anybody can hammer that pitch. And that's the thing is, let's say it is dropping 6 feet, okay, which it's not. If it is dropping 6 feet, well, what's the final destination of that pitch? Down in the zone. Okay. If you knew it was coming down in the zone, could you hammer it? Right? I mean, the destination part of it, the traveling of it, what it's doing doesn't really matter. I mean, we have to, younger kids, we got to train them to see that and trust that slider. I have a high school senior right now who I've worked with since he was 11 years old. And he said he saw the best pitcher that he's ever seen. And coming from this kid, that's legit. And he said he threw 94, and this is in high school. He threw 94, and then he threw a slider that came right at your head and ended up like on the upper part of the strike zone, And I told him, I said, I know his name's Drake. I said, Drake, it's not about where the pitch starts. It's where it ends up. And we were working together, and I was throwing fastballs up and in, and he's hammering the ball, keeping it fair, hammering the ball, swinging down. And then I threw him. I do more of a curveball because I don't want to ruin my elbow, so I don't throw the sliders or anything like that. So I was throwing curveballs, like tight spin curveballs up and in, and I would start it like at his front shoulder, and I'd have it break in. And at first, he was pulling off. I go, dude, you don't do that on a fastball. Like, you're not pulling off on a fast. And so that's when I told him, I said, hey, you have to trust, if you've done your observation, that pitcher, when he throws that pitch, it's going to start here and it's going to end here, right? And so what you're concerned with is where it's going to end. Where it's going to end, that's what you're going to hit. Just imagine it's a fastball, but the fastball is straight coming in that same spot, Like, it doesn't matter the destination matters. It's not what the pitch is doing that matters,
And the key word for me right there was trust, because nobody wants to get hit with the ball.
Yeah.
So when you initially see, and he knows what you're throwing. I mean, as a pitcher, he's facing a pitcher who throws, and that's a tough combination. A guy that can throw a hard fastball up and in and breaking ball out of the same
Mm-hmm.
in the same slot, and that's why I couldn't hit Mike Mussina, because that's what he did.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell the difference in what was coming, and
Mm-hmm.
so that's the thing, is the trust, is that you have to trust and keep that shoulder in there and not flinch
Mm-hmm.
for fear of getting hit by the ball.
Yeah.
And it's easier to do facing you when you tell him he's going to throw some
Yeah.
curveballs at him, and when he's facing the pitcher that
Controlled environment. Yeah.
it looks like a curveball, but oh crap, it's 94 and it's up and in. I just got hit in the shoulder or something.
Yeah, yeah. And he did actually, one of their pitchers, their closers, actually threw 98. Crazy. Had
High
a
school?
9 in high school. Yeah, this is in Oakdale, California, which I think is Bakersfield-ish. I think it's down south. And he was their closer, so 98 mile-an-hour fastball, threw a sweeper and a slider, and it was wild.
Oh,
You can't be allowed to throw 98 and be wild.
I mean, I wouldn't even want to hit off that guy.
Crazy, but he said there was one that I don't know if it was him or the other one, threw the slider and it didn't break as much, and so it almost got him. He turned away, and then they're catching it up, clipping off his glove and going behind the plate. But you're right, in a controlled environment, it's different, and we do that because it's pattern recognition is my main thing. I want them to recognize patterns. I had another hitter who. He big kid, he's 12 years old, but he's got he emotionally, he's not there. He's still maturing emotionally. So you can rile him if you throw a ball behind him or whatever. You don't even have to throw it by him, just throw it behind him and he'll get, and then you just start throwing it away and he's easy. So I'll put him in there and I'll say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. So I'll throw it behind you a couple times hard, and then he'll flinch even though he knows. And then I'm going to go away on you. So you need to stick with your plan. So we use a controlled environment, but it isn't the same as in a game. Of course, you're going to have a little bit of trepidation, you got a guy throwing that hard.
And I don't see that as much in the game today. Which to me, I argue with people all the time. They talk about how much harder it is to hit today. There's no fear factor anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to worry about the guy dusting you off, because they hardly do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
My thing with Judge was get him off the plate, man. If you get him off the plate and then just keep pounding him in at his hands, he's going to have to start making an adjustment. He's going to have to cheat a little bit, and then you have him set up to go away. And I don't know if they figured him out in the playoffs, if they'll keep doing that. But I bet you 45 of his home runs last year were center cut, belt high, and you're just like, how can you throw that pitch to Aaron Judge?
Right. That was a great observation that you made. Maybe it's just that these pitchers are so obsessed with spin rate that they just, hey, throw this pitch with this spin. No matter where you throw it, it doesn't matter. It's going to be effective. Maybe that's what's going on. Like, I put my tinfoil hat on. I know this isn't true, and I've seen Jonathan LaCroix shoot somebody down that said it. I know it's not true, but it almost seems like with non-disclosure agreements, they've told pitchers, hey, we're going to fine you for throwing any fastball up and in to Judge. And that's what it feels like. It's like, why aren't they doing that? I mean, I can look on Google and look at his heat map.
Yeah. He's got and most hitters are weak up and in.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to get pitched up and in. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I was able to hit that pitch if I was maybe cheating a little bit or looking there. Like, I'll never forget, I faced Darren Oliver, who, was my teammate in the minor leagues, in the major leagues. I was his agent for 9 years at the end after I retired. Mm-hmm. And so when we're teammates, I said, hey, D, I said, if I ever face you, I'm on another team, how are you going to pitch me? He goes, bust you up and in. I said, all right. So the very first time I faced him, I was with the Red Sox. Very first pitch, he threw me up and in, and I freaking crushed it. I turned on a fastball. Third baseman jumped it, hit off his glove, but I got a base hit. But he told me how he was going to pitch me. It'd be stupid not to be ready for that pitch,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the toughest pitch. And the swing down thing, that's the only way to get to it. Like the closer it is, like I tell my hitters, the more you want to shave your face with your barrel. You want to feel like you're shaving your face. And everybody on X will say, no, that's not what. Trust me, like my hitters all do it and they can keep it fair. But it has to be that extreme. The closer it is to your face, the more this way you got to be, more down, the more extreme it needs to be,
Plus, I think one of the big mistakes that I see with everybody's teaching, the gurus are teaching, is they're all teaching this.
Yeah.
And like, as soon as you do this, you're done.
Yeah.
It better be a low pitch.
Mm-hmm.
If it's anything belt high or higher, you're done. There's no way you can hit a pitch,
Mm-hmm.
elevated pitch like this with any authority. You just
Yeah.
can't do it. You break your wrist. And I talked to, I went to Red Sox fantasy camp this year. I talked to a bunch of guys. Victor Rodriguez is, hitting coach for the Padres. Great guy, knows hitting. He's been in the game forever. I talked to Billy Miller.
Mm-hmm.
Guy had a great career.
Yep.
And so I was talking to him about hitting, and he said 3 keys. He says your front hip, you kind of roll your front hip in. He goes in your back hip, or that crease,
Mm-hmm.
Then you turn it, and he goes in. You keep the relationship with your hands, which means you keep your hands here as long as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And he kept saying, keep the relationship. I was like, I'd never heard that, but that's what it says. Hip, and keep the relationship with your hands until they break on their own. You don't have to. That's why the whole snap it thing is a joke to me.
Disconnection. Well, and at our tryout for River Park is where River Park Little League in Fresno. And during evaluations, we're doing, I think, a bunch of 11, 12-year-olds. We're just watching the hitters. I was at the hitting station. I had my assistant coach who was watching all the fielding and stuff, and they were rating the players between 1 and 5, 5 being really good and 1 being really low. And I can tell you 85% of the hitters, they weren't all doing the TM stuff, but they're just naturally, like Bobby Bonds told Barry, it's easy to swing up, right? And at the younger ages, they don't know how to control the barrel. And 85% of the swings were swinging up. So when my son came in to the hitting station to do his thing, I go, Noah, dude, these guys, all we're going to have to do is set the tire swing at about the armpits this season and just throw it through the tire, throw it through the tire, and it's just swing and miss, swing and miss. And that's really what it is. All our pitchers on our team, we default to middle up pitching, fastballs, middle up fastballs. And I tell them, I say, you don't have to worry about a changeup. You don't have to worry, and we don't allow our kids to throw breaking balls. No changeups. You don't even have to move the ball around in the zone. Just throw it through the tire, right up at the armpits, and it's just swing and miss, swing and miss, swing and miss, swing and miss. It's crazy.
Yeah, and because that pitch looks so good to hit too when you first see it, and because you see it's high, it's like you want to swing at it, and then once you realize that you shouldn't have swung at it, it's too late. But that's the thing, and you see that in the major leagues every day. Everybody's swinging under the ball. The pitchers know that everybody's trying to elevate the ball. So you'd think at some point common sense would kick in and say, hey, wait a minute. They're pitching us up in the zone. I have to make an adjustment. But no, consistently swinging under all day long. And that's why we see so many strikeouts in the game, is because the pitchers are telling you they're going to do this, and you're still going to swing at it. And even if you hit this pitch up in the zone like this, it's not going to go out of the ballpark unless you're a monster like Aaron Judge or Joey Gallo. Most guys, that's a can of corn. And I've really noticed the last couple of years, I really pay attention to this stuff, but I've never seen so many lazy fly balls to the outfielders in my life. It's just everybody's, and I hope it's not happening, but I feel like in the dugout it's happening when they come back and they, hit a 320-foot fly ball to the center fielder, and the guy with the iPad says, hey, that was a good swing. Just missed it. It's like, no, it's not a good swing. You don't have to hit every ball in the air over the fence. There's other ways to score runs,
Well, the thing as a fan and paying the money that we got to pay to go to some of these games, Oakland now not being Oakland. So I'm an Athletics fan and now they're in Sacramento, but go to a Dodger game, go to especially a Giants game, and you're spending a family of 4. You're talking $250+ for that day. You're talking tickets and food and parking and the whole thing. And we're watching a guy go 1 for 4 with 3 strikeouts and a homer. Like, those 3 strikeouts are a complete waste of time, especially for a guy, say if it's Ohtani. We're coming to watch Ohtani and he strikes out. I think we watched him. He came to Oakland. It was one of the last couple weeks that they were home games, right? So we went to go one last hurrah at Oakland, the Coliseum. And they were playing the Dodgers. And you probably had 80% of the stadium was blue, Dodger fans. and you had a lot of the Japanese were there. I mean, it was all. I mean, it was an electric environment, but there weren't a lot of athletics fans there. And Otani, I think he almost hit one out. He flied out to the warning track. He was struggling at that point at that time, but we watched him strike out. I think 2 or 3 times. Had that warning track fly out, and of course, when he hits it, everybody goes, ah, but he stands up and catches it, at the warning track. But like you said, he probably came in the dugout. Hey, way to go, bumps, But a complete waste of time of watching Otani. And I love Otani, but watching a game like that where we're not, and he wasn't making any adjustments. Like I always stress to our hitters, you got to make an adjustment. You fly out next time, you need to hit a hard chopper. And that'll get them typically back to the line drive, right? So doing the exact opposite of what you did and do it right away. Like don't fly out 3 times and then go, oh, you know what? I got to make an adjustment. Let me swing down. Do it like right away. And I tell them the best hitters will do that, like Mike Trout and stuff in the game. They'll do that from swing to swing. So every swing they take, they're calculating and they do it naturally. It's not something that needs to be taught to them. And you were probably the same. You naturally make those adjustments quickly, right? How do I get on top of this ball a little bit more when you're fouling it back, right? And that's the thing that I'm not seeing. And it's really the strikeouts you mentioned. It's crazy. Like I asked Noah, I go, hey, ask ChatGPT or go to Google and see how many 300 hitters were in the league last year. Do you know how many, Jeff?
7.
Was it 7 or I thought it was like 4. Was it 7?
Both leagues combined was 7, I believe.
7. And then I go back to like 95, or I can't remember what I told him. Go back to the 90s and look at it. I know you've done this research before. In the 90s, how many?
It was like 40 or 50 every year.
Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Well, the pitching's better. We faced a bunch of firemen and plumbers back in those days, and now everybody's
electricians.
Now everybody's throwing 100, and it's just too hard to hit now.
Yeah.
It's just impossible. Everybody tells me I couldn't even make it in Double-A today because these guys are just too good. I was like,
okay.
You say so.
With all the strikeouts and the can't.
Yeah, I couldn't. I mean, just think. And I've actually had Jay Gibbons on my podcast, and it's like, because I remember when I was playing with the Red Sox, we started getting influx of some data guys. We called them nerds or geeks.
Nerds, yep.
And started showing up. And they'd walk through they came through our clubhouse. It was on, and they'd usually walk through like this with their head down real fast. And nobody noticed them. But those guys started showing up, and I asked Gibbons, I was like, so if somebody came up to you, some 23-year-old intern said, hey man, I've been watching some video. I really think you should try and do this. And, don't worry about striking out. That's not, we don't even care if you strike out. We'd rather you strike out than shorten up on the bat with 2 strikes and put the ball in play because you're going to be out anyway. I said, would you have done it? And he goes, I mean, just think if you had a free reign to strike out and they didn't care. I said, yeah, I get that, but I don't think I could have done it because I'd have been like, it defies logic to me that it's okay to strike out. That's the biggest failure you can have.
Yeah.
As a player, the 2 biggest failures for me were striking out and making an error in the field. I mean, I couldn't sleep at night if I made an error.
Right.
Not just because I knew that, it might hurt my team, but it was like I felt like I was letting down the infield coaches, the coaches who coached me by not doing something right. And just, I mean, there's an E on the scoreboard for a reason, right? Errors are part of the game. But I just could never buy into it's okay to strike out. It's just an out. To me, that's a joke because something can happen when you put the ball in play. And if you saw the World Series, sometimes the pitcher forgets to cover first base. And if you struck out, it wouldn't have mattered. But it should have changed the whole series around.
Well, there was a game, I think it was the A's in Detroit last year. And I can't remember who was pitching, but big dude. And the A's put down 3 consecutive bunts. First one was, I think it was a safety squeeze. So they put it down. What did he do? He throws it up the line. Couldn't get the runner coming home. Throws it up the line. Then they bunt on him again. Or maybe the safety squeeze was the second one. So the first one was just a drag, I think. He throws it up the line. Second one's like a safety squeeze, runner on third. Guy puts it down, and then the pitcher comes off the mound, picks it up, spikes it, throws it right in the ground. He's trying to throw it to the catcher, spikes it, run scores, and then they do it again. This time I think they did a push bunt. This was the funniest one. They do a push bunt, all the same guy. They're picking on the same guy. Push bunt, goes to second base, or towards the second baseman. And push bunts done perfectly are like fun to watch because it's like a circus, even at the major league level, right? So you get the first baseman and the pitcher crash on the ball, goes by both of them, right? So now the second baseman's covering first base, so there's nobody there now. So the pitcher goes running out. Second baseman sees what's going on, turns around, goes and chases the ball, and it's kind of trickling into the outfield now. It's like, and so the pitcher and the second baseman trip over each other, and the pitcher ends with his butt on the dirt. And I tell my hitters this because we do a lot of bunting more for eye-hand coordination because it really helps eye-hand coordination. And Aaron Miles told a story. I thought at the time I thought it was good advice, but I just was like, who bunts? At the time I heard it. But he was saying that he was struggling one time. Did you ever play? You played against Aaron, didn't you? He played like when Pujols of the Cardinals. He played with
Yeah, I never played against the National League, but I do remember him as like a guy about my size, second base.
Yeah. Switch hitter. Yeah. And he was telling a story where he was struggling a little bit, and he decided that he wanted to set up the machine before a batting practice and just bunt, crank it up to like 100 miles an hour. Had his buddy out there throwing to him, and he said he bunted like 450 balls. And I was like, wow. And that, if it's one thing about big leaguers and former big leaguers, you learn that there's an obsession, right? And I tell my hitters, you don't have to be that obsessed, but if you want to make it to the big leagues, there has to be an obsession there. And so after he did that, he ended up going the next 6 weeks hitting like 550 in the next 6 weeks. And at the time I remember thinking about that. I was like, what? And then over time now we do a lot of bunting with our guys. We do a lot of bunting. Our guys know how to hit. Like, I'm not worried about that. We teach them how to hit, but the bunting part is interesting because of the eye-hand coordination. And then I tell them that story about the A's in Detroit. I said, even at the big league level, guys have a hard time feeling a bunt under pressure. Like it's hard if you can put it down the third baseline, or even like in the case of the Detroit where you got a runner coming in now on a safety squeeze. I mean, the time is of the essence. Even if the bunt is not perfect and it's right to him, he spikes it in the ground. He's a big leaguer.
Yeah. And I use the bunt a lot, man. And I always looked for the opportunity to bunt.
Mm-hmm.
They were giving it to me. I thought it was stupid of me not to take advantage of it. And I was a really good bunter, and I practiced it a lot. And one of the things about bunting, I mean, you're right, it is great for hand-eye coordination. But something about when you square around, and I didn't square, but turn around.
Yep.
It also brings in the fear factor a little bit, too, because you can't move out of the way as quick, too. So you really got to trust yourself and trust your hand that you can get out of the way or whatever. But you have to really focus when you bunt on getting the bat right, because you got the wrong angle. It's going to pop it up, or it could ricochet funny back at you. So you really have to focus on that. So you're really focusing in on watching the ball all the way to the bat. And that's what they say, when they talk about hitting, watch the ball hit the bat, right? So, I mean, it just makes sense that practicing that, would help your hitting and your hand-eye coordination. And we used to always, I mean, you didn't swing the bat when you got in the cage until you got your bunts down. It didn't matter who you were. Mo Vaughn was bunting first two. Juan Gonzalez, you name it, they were bunting. And if they messed one up, they bunted again. You got to get one down to first, one down to second. Then we'll do hit and run, get them over, get them in. That was our routine. But we practiced that all the time, man. And it was a weapon. For me, it was a weapon because I knew I could bunt. And, most of the time I did a drag bunt because it was easier for me to drag bunt.
Yeah, me too.
So I would ask my coach, I was like, hey, I know you want me to sack. I mean, to move a guy over. I said, but is it all right if I do it, this way to like a drag?
You might be able to get a base hit out of it.
I mean, it's hard to square around, and you're totally squared around, and everybody knows you're bunting. And this guy's throwing fastballs up in the zone at 95. It's hard to get that down. So it's easier to me to disguise it, wait for the last second, and get it down. But I would look for that. I mean, my favorite time to bunt, honestly, was first and third. First and third as a right-handed hitter.
Because you're blocking. You got blocking the runner.
Less than 2 outs. And I knew that if I would I had a sign with the third base coach, even in the big leagues. I'm like, hey, if I freaking grab my belt, I'd make sure that runner knows that to be ready for a bunt, because I don't want to put down a freaking great bunt and he's got his head up his butt and he's still standing. You know?
Right.
And worst case scenario for me in that situation was I got the runner home and I moved the runner to second. I'm out at first on a sacrifice.
Yeah, and you got a ribby and you got a and a sack all in.
No AB, and moved another guy into scoring position. So
That's
why
smart.
would I not do this?
Smart.
As a table setting guy anyway. And I didn't really like the push bunt because I mean, I know it's a great play if you can get it right past the pitcher in between the first baseman, but I was like tried it a few times and like did a one hopper right to the pitcher. And I'm like, that was a waste of AB, you know. And why I knew I could bunt it, and if I was bunting for a hit, it was like it's either going to be a perfect bunt or foul. I'm not going to bunt it halfway to the pitcher.
Yep.
I'm going to make sure I've got my angle, the right angle, where it's going to be within 2 or 3 feet of the line. Or if I get around it, has some spin, it might go foul. But if it goes foul, I can still hit it.
Yeah, because especially with the bigger guys, so we got a couple big guys on our team, or maybe not bigger, but just slower. And that's what we tell them. We said, don't bunt it back to the pitcher, or if you're going to drag it, don't drag it back to the pitcher because you're out. Like you got to get that third baseman running, and he's got to make. And at 12 years old, it's not rare, but it's seldom that they're going to be able to make a throw on the run. Like they're just not going to be able to do it at that age, you know. And so that's what I tell the big guys. Hey, if we're struggling at the plate, we're 0 for 2, and you wanna try and put one down, just make sure, like you said, it's either third baseline or foul. It's either close to the third baseline or foul.
And I used to try to get it halfway to third.
Yeah, right.
Halfway to third. I didn't want to kill it right there, and where the catcher could run out there and throw me out at first. I wanted to get the catcher out. He wasn't even going to be a factor. It's either going to be a third baseman or maybe an athletic pitcher who's capable of running over there and making a great play. But that if a pitcher is going to run over there that far, he's not getting me at first.
Right.
He might get another guy, but I wasn't slow. So I knew that if I made the third baseman field it about halfway home, I had a good shot.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, hey, we're coming up on an hour. I don't even know if I got to any of my questions that I wanted to ask you. I think especially the first one where we get to talk, we just kind of let the conversation flow. And that's why I like to usually have my podcast flow anyway. But I have a lot of really good questions here. And if you're up for it, maybe at a later date, we can do a part 2 or something like that. But I do want to have you just kind of plug whatever. I know you said you don't want to plug anything, but just where can people find you?
Well, on Twitter, it's Shigon03, all lowercase. Facebook is, what is Facebook? Oh, just Jeff Frye, I think. Instagram is a certified hitting guru. And by the way, I just made that up.
I know it's sarcasm. You use a lot of sarcasm.
Yeah, it's just like I'm like, wait a minute, this dude's a hitting doctor and he didn't play, and this dude's the pitching doctor and he didn't play past high school. It's like I need a name. I'm going to be the certified hitting guru. I'd be surprised how many people are like, "Oh, this guy thinks he's the certified hitting guru."
Yeah. Like you don't read my posts. You don't get the joke.
I'm on LinkedIn also under my name, and I need to do some stuff on YouTube, but it's too hard to get a thing going. But yeah, that's it. If they want to find me, they type in hashtag Shigon on their search engine and they'll find it, I believe.
Cool. Yeah. And I can help out with any of that. I love hitting, I love baseball, but the marketing side, I'm pretty good at too. So if there's anything that you need on your end, the YouTube side of it, like doing it this way is pretty easy. We shoot the conversation and then we upload it to YouTube. And what I'll do with this is I'll show notes. I'll get everything to you, the video. I'm going to do an intro because we didn't do like an official intro. So I'm going to do that. But anything that you need on your end to help set up, I'm there for you. I'm a big fan. I love reading your stuff, your dialogues that you have with some of these people. I'll click the post and then I'll see what other people are saying underneath, and I'll share you and I'll heart you and all that good stuff. But now Twitter doesn't even recognize when you heart. Like you can't tell who's hearting stuff anymore, which is crazy.
Oh, really? So why do I do it all the time then?
I know. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they've changed it, but I know after the election or before the election, they were saying, yeah, we're not going to show what you're hearting. So feel free to heart away. And it could be just the intel agencies that are wanting to spy on people. Let's take the barrier away and let's see what they're really into so we can filter and conspiracy theory hat.
Right. I think that, I appreciate all that. And I appreciate you having me on. I would say that the two other things real quick. I do have a podcast, the She Gone podcast, which is on Real Voices of the Game. And I've had a lot of great guests. I plan on having a whole bunch more. And it's just good baseball talk. Tell a lot of good stories. And
it's a lot of former big leaguers and coaches and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I endorse the kinetic arm sleeve.
Yep. I love it.
I would not do it if it didn't work, man. I think it changed my life. And Jason Colleran's an incredible guy, and his wife's Michelle. And so I promote that. So anybody wants to look into that or having trouble with shoulder, especially coaches, I think it's great for coaches that throw BP all the time when you're getting older. And this thing, because of how it's designed, I hurt my arm.
Yeah, it reinforces
When I hurt my shoulder jumping off the diving board doing a can opener, I was like, I can't throw. I couldn't even get out of the pool. I was like, but how am I? I'm going to Red Sox fantasy camp. Trot Nixon goes, can you throw BP? I said, I don't know, man. I said, I'll try. And I saw Jason, and he gave me one. And you can strap it on, different ways. But I didn't want my arm way back here when I'm throwing BP. I want my arm right by my ear. So I made it tight to where I was almost throwing darts, and I was able to throw BP, 21 innings of coach pitch BP pain-free. I was like, this is a miracle.
It is one of the pieces of equipment that I think should be in every little league organization, every pony league organization, every organization. I would even say, if you can call it travel ball organization, they don't really have one, but it should be everywhere. And they should allow all pitching, they should be required to wear that.
I agree, man. I agree. And we're getting closer and closer. And I'm just, I endorse their product, and you can get like a 10% She Gone discount if you use my link. But I agree. And you start to see more and more people, more and more kids that are wearing this thing. And I think it's great.
Yeah, very good. And I agree. Well, Jeff, thanks, brother. I appreciate you, and hopefully many more of these talks, and we'll dig in a little bit more in the next ones if I didn't scare you away onto some of the other cool stuff that you've talked about. And I know we had a lot of cool stuff in this one. So, Jeff, I appreciate your time, man, and I'll get all that stuff over to you so that you can share it out to your audience as well. Okay,
Joey. Well, it's nice to meet you, man. And when you ever want to do part 2. And I'll quit rambling on. You can ask me some real questions.
No. Hey, the rambling is great. Great value. All right, Jeff. All right, thanks, brother. All right. See ya.
Hey, coaches, parents, and athletes. In today's episode with former big leaguer Jeff Frye, we explored a crucial secret to hitting success. Why mastering pitch recognition and adapting your swing path is essential for every hitter. Jeff and I discussed how traditional hitting approaches like swinging down on pitches up in the zone are still fundamental for consistent, explosive performance at the plate. If you resonated with Jeff's insights, I've got something special for you. Swing Shift, our revolutionary hitting program, gives you targeted daily episodes and drills that simplify exactly what Jeff emphasized: reading pitch patterns, adapting your barrel path, and developing a smarter, more effective swing. With Swing Shift, you'll tap into advanced hitting strategies inspired by big league minds designed specifically to help baseball and softball hitters master these exact concepts. And here's the best part. Right now, we're offering a 1-week free trial to let you experience the Swing Shift advantage firsthand. Transform your hitting game today. Check out Swing Shift at hittingperformancelab.com/Swing Shift and start your free trial. Let's swing smarter together. Smarter. Thanks so much for tuning into the Swing Smarter Hitting Training Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to subscribe, leave a quick review, and share it with other baseball and softball enthusiasts. It really helps us reach more coaches, athletes, and parents like you. For more in-depth hitting resources, cutting-edge training programs, and exclusive insights, head over to hittingperformancelab.com. Until next time, swing smarter and play hard.